Ooh, so chaps, I'm Magical Mike and I was going to do an intro that took the piss out of the terrible Guild Wars 2 Oath competition, but I couldn't make it funny, so I still thought I'd make mention of it though because I think it's kinda stupid. Fractured is the patch that we got. It's basically somewhat of an overhaul, to the fractals and the systems around them, like Agony and all that stuff. There's quite a lot of details, so I'll go over those first and then I'll get into what I think of the actual gameplay changes in this dungeon. We got a show rarity option in the inventory, which also applies to items in the bank, which I think is a good thing that they put in, but I won't be using it, because I think it kinda looks cluttered when you have a full inventory. However, I do actually applaud them for including this thing. Well done. In other news, we got the worst gem store armour ever! In fact, it was so bad that the community uproar actually got heard this time and they removed it from the store. The light armour was human tier 3 cultural, with some lame ass flames on it. The medium was standard world v world armour with some flames, and the heavy was some crappy gladiator set that also didn't look very good, with some flames on it. I've spotted gemstore armour reskins before, and some of the poorer weapons like the Zodiac ones, and I'm usually one to give my opinion on these things, and usually people disagree with me and call me a hater. This time clearly was pretty bad though. It's a terrible decision to have those in the store for more than one reason. Awful flame effects, awful lazy reskin, the fact that it was cultural armour, it blows my mind. I can't believe that even happened in the first place. I heard that there are now fractal leaderboards, but I can't find them and I haven't seen them yet, so yeah. And who honestly actually even cares about it? You could totally show off your fractal level, but we already have PvP and achievement point ones that nobody looks at anyway. So who asked for these? Alright, so fractals themselves and agony changes and things. Those of us that got above fractals 30 before this patch got sent back to 30. However, the level is now account bound, so you can bring your character that has no resists in and get one shot if you like. I mean, you already could do that, but now you actually get progress on those characters as well. You can now get infinite agony resist, hurrah! Although, getting to that point will take a long time, and that's the understatement of the year. Every time you beat a fractal, you usually get 1 + 1 infusion. Sometimes you get more, but usually it's 1. This is a new item that you can combine with another +1 infusion to make a +2 infusion. And then you need 2 + 2s to make a 3, 2 + 3s to make a 4, and so on and so on. For example, to make a +10 infusion, you need over 500 +1 infusions. And to make a +15 infusion, you need 16,000 +1 infusions. What? So it's not hard to get a +5 infusion just like before, but it will take forever to make those any better. These new agony infusions go in the new slot in Ascended gear. This slot actually replaces the old infusion that came on rings with the infused suffix. So it's pretty simple. Fractal weapons now drop beyond level 10, which is down from 20, which makes it easier to get them from before. That does take some prestige away from them, but we've had a whole year by now to get them, so it's not such a big deal. They're now also just skins, which means you don't need to use a transmutation crystal on them now. Hurrah! However, my pre-existing ones didn't get converted, which kinda sucks, but again, no big deal. When you do get a fractal weapon drop, they come in a chest, and they're just like Ascended weapons, which can also drop in fractals as well, I should mention that. And this does mean that you can pick whichever skin that you want, which is about time that they did that because the RNG on fractal weapons was probably the worst in the entire game. I ended up, after my 500 plus fractals, with a torch, a scepter, 2 rifles and a spear gun in all that time. I mean, I wouldn't mind, but I hate the gun skin, and the spear gun has the exact same as the rifle skin. If I could have picked, I would have gone with a longbow and a sword, and I don't know what else. NPCs, pets and minions now don't receive agony, which is a good change for rangers and necros, as if necros actually use minions, but it makes all the difference at the end of the Ascalon fractal. The boss there is much easier now. Good. The meta achievement is easy to get. I got it on the first night after a couple of fractal runs, but the reward is underwhelming. You get a whole brick, a star, and an ingot. Wow! That so-called hoard of materials isn't so huge, but I still got some use out of it. Right, so I told you there was a whole lot of details to go through. Now I can finally talk about the fractals that we got. The Thormanova story mode is what you've been watching. It was broken. There was a prompt to return to a waypoint and no such thing existed, so if you died in a bad spot you had to relog your character. Apparently now they've fixed all of these issues in there now, so at least there's that, but... problems. Released with problems every time. The story in there... I'm not sure what to think of that. I'm sort of now in the camp of I'm tired of Scarlet, and I don't really care. I wish I did. I'd love to be able to tell you if I thought it was good or bad, but I can't. I just don't care anymore. One observation that I'd like to make is that I think that Scarlet is a direct reaction to some people saying that the dragons are a boring villain. You can't relate to dragons because they're just big evil things, so now we get Scarlet who isn't giving us a motivation, and she's mysterious and she's sort of interesting in that way. Like, I see the logic, but I'm not sure if I totally agree with it. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. The reactor fractal. There's some interesting rooms in there. The place looks really good. The mechanics around the place are fun. The portals pull you in, the floor's acid, etc, etc. The cooling rods are used to cool down the reactor, which is in meltdown, and you get these by doing the different rooms. I believe you actually have to do that reactor room, but I could be wrong. It's an interesting room as well. The skills in there are kind of odd. I don't quite get why we get one that fears us randomly. Is that supposed to be realism, maybe? Panic in the reactor? I suppose. I don't know. But overall, it's kind of fun. It's a decent fractal. The Ooze boss, Subject 6, is impossible. It's unkillable. I'm kidding. You just whack him and stop attacking when it blocks, otherwise it gets a stacking buff that explodes when it hits 20 and it kills you. Also, kill the Ooze ads, because they heal him when they get into melee range. I only make that joke because the guy that led us through on our first time was just like, it's impossible, it's too hard, don't do it, it's impossible. Actually, there's a video on Bit's channel where we go through the fractal with him. I'll put a link to that in the description so you can watch that, that's kind of fun. Speaking of fun, the end boss is also pretty fun, although I didn't really understand what exactly I was supposed to be dodging at the end. Basically just do damage to it and avoid being dropped off the platform. Pretty simple mechanics, but I still don't quite understand where the agony comes from and that sort of stuff. But just kill him, he's not hard, he doesn't have much health. And apart from that, we got the Aetherblade and the Molten Fractals back from their PvE releases earlier in the year. These were good dungeons, and they are just as good as Fractals, so well done on that. They're also much shorter as Fractals as well, because they've been split into 2 sections. The respective bosses from these also appear in place of the Jade Moor sometimes as well. Mitrin and the Molten Tag Team, in case you forgot. They are significantly easier though, having less health and doing much less damage. Mitrin in particular has been incredibly nerfed. She does barely any damage. Horik, you don't even need to kill him. Is it Horik? I think it's Horik, first mate guy that shoots the cannon. And the cannon barrages between sections don't last nearly as long. And they don't fire as many, so much easier. The big thing, the big change though, is after level 30 fractals, where you get interesting things. You get these debuffs called instabilities. After each level there's a set instability. They affect you throughout the entire set of fractals, so the first, second, third and then the boss. You get this one set instability. You get a different one at each level, so 31 has a new one, 32 has a different one, 33 etc etc, and as far as I know they don't ever repeat. These things can affect your gameplay hugely, or they could just be minor annoyances. For example, at 31, the Mossman appears randomly throughout your entire run and tries to throw agony axes at you, which can yield hilarious results. He also just attacks people and things. It's a lot of fun just minding your own business, attacking the boss, and then suddenly, oh, Mossman's killed my friend, what do? It's a lot of fun, causes some panic. Others though, like having conditions last longer on you, are completely negligible. I mean, who doesn't take condition removal in the team? Pretty simple to deal with. I got to level 35 on the first night, so we'll see if they have any massive impact. So far, nothing's been hard. The flanking one was kinda difficult, if only because if you turned slightly away from something or something blindsided you, it did a lot more damage. But apart from that, you could pretty much ignore them. I do know though that later ones can be awful. For example, there's one at, I believe, 44 that deals 2% damage to you every time you land a critical hit. Ouch, that's pretty painful. There's others similar to that as well, like if you use an elite skill, you die. Could be annoying, but I guess elite skills aren't all that important anyway, so be that what it may. Overall, there's some good changes to fractals. They even went back and made changes to older fractals to make them work better. Well, I must say though, the dev that looked at the dredge, he looked at the irritatingly long fractal, he made it slightly harder, more painful, and then he looked at the players' complaints about certain things and he thought to himself, he thought, you know, people hate this clown car, and they hate the buttons at the start, and they hate the bombs and the insane crowd control. They use this pipe to line of sight. You know what? Dredge is okay. Dredge is okay. I think I'll leave it. It'll be fine. And he left it. Which blows my mind. Because Dredge is... Dredge, everyone knows Dredge is just Dredge. It's not hard, but it's just long. It's dull, it's boring. Who wants to do that every time? The only thing good about the Dredge are the mechanics and the interesting boss fight at the end. Apart from that, it's just kill hundreds and hundreds of Dredge that power themselves up with boons. Anyway, go and check it out if you haven't done fractals for a while. It's interesting. It also, all these changes sound like a lot, but really, it's just fractals. And that's it. So yeah, go and check out the instabilities. Those are what's fun about this patch. So go and check it out, and thanks for watching.